Hi, it's Wasabi. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, we're going to have a look at the current auction vehicle, the K-2. It's a Tier 8 Soviet heavy premium tank. It's just been released into the auction, so you can see there's about 11 hours to go according to when this video is made, and you can see the minimum bid is 130,000 of free EXP. And there's 6,000 of them available. So at the moment there's no competitive bid because obviously there's not enough bids in, and what I think they probably won't run out of this. So yeah, if you're going to bid for this, go for the minimum bid basically and see how you go, and then just check it later on and see if there's competitive bidders come up. Anyway, that's bidding strategy, but let's have a look at the tank. We're going to compare it on paper to a few of the other Soviet heavy premium tanks and give you an idea of its sort of strengths and weaknesses there, and then we'll have a look at some gameplay. But a little bit about it. Essentially it was a project that was created as effectively a prototype of the IS-4 and also to test some engineering changes to the IS-3. So you can see it's got a different armour layout here, and we'll go into the armour strengths and weaknesses, which is probably one of the main features of the tank. Alright, so let's go and have a look in the comparison and give you a view of those. Alright, for this comparison, we're just using the out-of-the-box features, so standard cruise, no equipment, no sort of modules added. So these are sort of the raw figures. Okay, so we can see straight away firepower is not its strength. The average score there 209, and average damage is not too bad, but it's the lowest as compared to the Defender Object 252U. But penetration is very much a letdown there with the standard round. This is, of course, 203 millimeters, whether all the others have got at least 220 or 221. Rate of fire pretty much the same. So you've got 14-second gun loading time, but the 703-2 a bit better there. And then traverse speed also slow, although better than the 703-2, but not as good as the other two. Gun depression pretty standard, 6 degrees. Aiming time reasonable. The dispersion here, typical Soviet heavy gun there, 0.42, and DPM lowest of the other three. Then we get into hit points and armour, and this is really going to be the strengths of the tank. So to start with, you've got 1650 hit points, so it's at least 100 more than any of the others, so that's pretty useful. Your hull armour, 160 on the front is the strongest there, 150 on the sides, and this is important. This is going to really help with side scraping, and 120 on the rear. And that rear armour is going to surprise a few people from time to time who try and come up behind you and pen. And turret armour also very strong, 250 frontal armour, 160 on the sides, and 160 on the rear, also the highest of those other tanks. Suspension time, that's not very interesting. Mobility here is going to be, again, one of the weak spots of the tank. So you've got 715 horsepower, but you've got a 55-ton tank, which is heaviest apart from the 703-2, which has got an extra gun in it. Not surprising there. And then your specific horsepower at 13, again, very average. So your acceleration and your turning speeds and so on are also going to be fairly low. And your top speed also 30 kilometers per hour over terrain. And a reverse speed of 12 is the lowest of all of that group there. What else can we show? You can see I'm at nothing special, Soviet heavy tank. But here's the other, view, or lack of view, I should say. 340 meters view range is the lowest of these lot. So that tells you, you really got to be playing in the face of your enemy. You're not going to spot anyone. You need to be, much closer to engage, and I'm not going to be sniping with this tank for sure with that dispersion factors. So really, yeah, to summarise then, you've got an average to poor gun, very poor view range, you've got strong armour, that's going to be the main draw, and decent hit points to go with that. Mobility is poor to average, and your view range is going to be bad. So let's just go and have a look back at the tank itself and just have some characteristics of it in a bit more detail. So again, here we've got standard crew, 100% crew, so no skills added at this stage, and we've got no equipment loaded. So you can see then a bit more on the armour layout here. Now in terms of possible weaknesses, so let's have a quick look at that. I won't go into tanks.gg just yet, at least not in this video, but this panel on top of the roof is only 30mm, so that's definitely overmatch material. It means you can overmatch with 90mm and above guns, so there's going to be plenty of those out at there at tier 8. This panel at the front I think is about 220 effective at the angle, but from this view the side scraping is actually going to be very hard to penetrate. So from the front view, probably a Scorpion with premium rounds will be able to pen you, but not a whole lot else, and certainly not any tier 6s and 7s, so depending on what sort of battles you get into. And the side scraping view is also going to be pretty solid. This very strong side armour that it's got, and the turret side armour also going to be very useful to you. And of course this is, anything over here is going to ricochet from side scraping perspective. It does have cupolas, but as you can see they're very small, and the main weakness, as I mentioned, is going to be this panel on top of the roof, just like the Defender has really. So we'll go into some gameplay just to show you how that sort of stacks up, or really does this sort of summary actually represent what the tank is, and I think it will, so we'll jump into some gameplay. But before we do, just think about, is it worth it? Well, as you can see, this how it compares to a couple of other heavy tanks. If you don't have those in your arsenal already, then maybe you would look at this. I think probably its main draw card being its armour. You know, maybe you've got some bouncing missions that you need to do for your personal campaigns, and it might prove pretty useful for that, and I think it will, but that's going to diminish over time as people learn how to compete with the armour. And then for a newer player, if you don't really have many Soviet heavy tanks, and this is just another one, you know, is going to be worth happening well like this. But one thing, of course, is you've got a standard 4-man crew, so you'll be able to bring in your high skilled crews from whether you've got IS-3s or Defenders or higher tier tanks. They should swap in directly, but of course it won't help with your IS-7s and those sort of things which have got additional loaders and so on. Anyway, all right, let's finish on that note, and then we'll jump into some gameplay and we'll summarise at the end. Hi, it's Wasabi. Okay, now this battle is courtesy of 99 Destroyer, who's also got a video out, so I'll put a link in the description to his version of the review. This battle's on the Steppes map, and here's bottom tier, so tier 8 in a tier 9 battle. So we'll see how things stack up there. Let's get into 99's view. So I'll put a link to his Twitch channel as well. It's one of my fellow CCs. Now, this game is an assault match, so they're spreading out here, and you do expect to find heavy tanks and maybe tank destroyers on the other side. So it's going to be interesting to see how the armour stacks up, but also how the gun behaves. Now, just mobility here, you can see he's already only doing 25k's across ground, obviously a lot slower going up the hill. And with gun depression of 6 degrees, just bear that in mind. Is he going to get any satisfaction out of this position? We'll have to see. Alright, okay, it's been spotted. There's definitely tanks in front. In fact, takes the shot from the Scorpion on his tracks, and also bounces the Pantera, who decides to just sit there. Just bounced another round there, so he's already picked up a fair bit of block damage there. You know, his first shot on the Pantera missed, so that's what I'd expect from shooting a Soviet heavy tank gun on the move, but he managed to tag the M103, but possibly because he wasn't moving so fast and his bloom had come down. Gets the shot into the Pantera this time. So he's blocked 1600 and just done over 670 of his own damage there. So I'm just waiting for these targets to come out from hiding. Alright, it's going to melt 2 there, that could be interesting. And the Scorpion, he might be able to tag the Scorpion, but then again fires at the Scorpion and no result from that. So great gun dispersion work. and taken more shots on his track. So he's angled compared to the competition, and he's hiding his hull and so on through the terrain, but he has now taken some damage, so that's going to be interesting. How does this work out? Puts another shot into the Scorpion, but the Scorpion is still alive, so will he pin again? Well, could if he's firing premium ammunition, which he might be doing. I just don't have that setting on, but he's bouncing the ML2 at the moment. I think if the ML2 gets hold of him, oh, there you go, finally gets a damaging shot in, and another one. So let's have a quick look. So there you go, bounces on the edges there, and penetrating the lower front and the top of the front plate there. So he's lost quite a fair bit of hit points, but he's also bounced nearly 4k. Now he's spotted some TDs and he's bouncing shots from them, and again, they're probably, well, he's on the move, so it's going to be hard to aim at his roof, but look at the block total is now nearly 5k, and it just keeps growing. Let's get back into his view. Does connect on the UDES 03 there, so he's collected another shot in there, but now he's only got 400 of his own hit points left, so gonna have to manage this carefully if he's going to survive. And he bounces the UDES, so you can see that block damage just keeps going up. It helps, of course, that he's on the move a little bit. He's going backwards and forwards, so that's going to upset the aim of anyone. Takes a shot in his tracks, gets another damaging shot in. He just goes dark before he's reloaded, so this is going to be interesting. And we don't know where that shot's gone, but it doesn't look like it connected. Alright, it's bouncing more shots, so nearly 7k, and that takes him out. So it's basically the end of his game, but you can see the armor not completely reliable. But that's, again, being fairly aggressive there, and 7k, almost a block damage. That's pretty amazing. Alright, let's swing back to the garage and just do a quick summary. Alright, well, in summary, is it worth it? Okay, so from the perspective of an experienced player, possibly not if you've got a lot of Soviet Hemi premium tanks at tier 8. I don't think it really offers any other special gameplay apart from the blocking. So yeah, if you've got some blocking missions you need to complete, doing over 3 times your own hit points, which is pretty common, then yes, it's a good candidate for that. But do that soon, because yeah, people will learn weak spots, and particularly the roof, and what ammunition they need to use. So yeah, it might be worth it. 130,000 free XP if you've got it, and there's a lot of players out there with high amounts of free XP. It may not be a big issue. At this point, go for the minimum bid is what I would advise. There's going to be 6,000 available, so yeah, I don't really see them being sold out at this point, but we'll see how that goes. For a newer player, hopefully, yeah, I'm not encouraging people with 100 games to go and buy a tier 8 heavy tank. I don't think you're going to get the best out of this, apart from being able to troll around the battlefield, bouncing rounds until you die. But I think you're going to be disappointed in terms of the penetration ability and having to fire a bit more premium ammunition to get your damage totals up. So probably not so great for a newer player. Better off getting a Defender, or particularly even a Corvettes. So yeah, in summary, yeah, look, I think if that particular set of unique features is appealing to you, then that's probably it. Or you're a collector, then go for it. But yeah, definitely not an overpowered tank. Up against tier 6s and that sort of thing, they are going to have extreme trouble penetrating you, so you are going to dominate in those battles. But in the higher tier battles, as we saw, you're going to suffer a little bit. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the review. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing that. We've got a lot of content there you can have a review of.